crazy. Yep. Yeah, it's never been
Well, the other part too. No. I sent it to you.
So good.
There's no more, I'm sure. Each thing might be capture the balance. Teachers have two monitors. These would be able to show up on the meeting board, or show up in Zoom students. Oh, okay. Because that's the key. All of them show up on the screen. Well, we got this idea from some big school in the Chicago area is doing that. You have to have the input back into the PC, so it's going to be a capture card. So you don't have one, and then they're going to put it outside.
Yeah. When we get a new computer, to have an HDMI, we'll just use.
I'll have to use my thing, which is the capture device. It's just a proof of concept. If we keep working, just cobble together, then you can talk about how to work on it. Yeah. Steve, how you doing today, man?
Good evening, everyone, and on behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's board meeting. I've called the meeting to order, and once again, just to remind everyone, as required, we are adhering to existing emergency orders requiring face masks and the Open Meetings Act requirement, including social distancing of individuals remaining at least 6 feet from individuals outside of their individual household. We also have overflow area and senior commons at the high school where the meeting is being streamed on the TV if we exceed space here in the media center for occupancy. If you do plan to make a public comment tonight, please complete a card and turn it into Mrs. Callett, our recording secretary, so we have notes to refer to. And I remind everyone, please silence any cell phones or turn them off. Remove any hats, and we'll rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we make the roll call, I'd like to announce that earlier today, Mr. Siselski and I received a formal resignation of board member Mr. Steve Losey from his trustee position effective today. So Mr. Losey will not be attending this evening's meeting. and we will go through the process to identify a member to replace Mr. Losey from qualified candidates. We'll have that process going probably in the next week to post for a member to replace Mr. Losey. We'll have the roll call vote. Mrs. Kelly.
Haney,
Present.
Blunt,
Present.
Montague,
Here.
Murphy,
Present.
Sheena. Here. And Maker.
Present. At this time, I need a motion to adopt this evening's agenda as presented.
So moved.
Or
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Next item is Superintendent Report. Mr. Sosowski.
I'll yell here for a minute. Chris will help me out. There it goes.
Again, welcome everybody this evening. Thanks for coming out. I do have a couple things to report out on. Linden Community Schools budget hearing. I would request and like to move the June 16th board meeting to Wednesday, June 23rd. The purpose of this request, as we did last year, is to have an additional week to prepare our budget information in preparation for the budget hearing that typically takes place at the last board meeting of the school year. And again, we are receiving information back from the legislative group that they are intending to have a budget in place by July 1. So this does give us another week to get that information in. Michigan Early Middle College Association. Linden High School, as part of the Linden Southern Lakes Early College, has received confirmation from the Michigan Early Middle College Association that requirements for the early college certificate have been met. This confirmation allows Linden High School to promote our early middle college program as a college readiness program under MEMSCA. 21 total students are in our, no, I can't see. Yeah. 21 total students are in our early middle college program. We have 6th grade 13 students. All will graduate. Our 13th year students are graduating with an average of 50 additional credits. 3 of them are moving on to a 4-year university. 2 are staying at Mott to finish associate programs, and 1 is either going to get a real estate license or transfer. They just haven't decided yet. We also have 7 seniors and 7 juniors currently who are enrolled in our early middle college program, and those 7 seniors are looking forward to their year 13. The annual Linden Community School Board Academic Awards. Academic awards have been scheduled for Wednesday, May 19th. The awards ceremony will take place in the Linden High School Gymnasium. Mr. Dretzky is in the process of communicating with award recipients regarding the annual event. The Linden Community Education and Photographer Instructor James Wesley and the participants of its student photography workshops invite everyone to view an exhibit of the talented young artists and their work. Thanks to the generous support of the Linden business community, a collection of these talented group of upper elementary and middle school students, all from Linden, their photography will be on display in the windows of merchants and businesses throughout downtown Linden. The exhibit dates are May 8th through May 14th. So if you have a chance, head on downtown. Pathway Walk to Central Elementary. Again, I would like to invite everyone to the Safe Routes to School Argentine Pathway Walk to Central Elementary on Wednesday, May 19th. This event will begin at Chestnut Grove River Oaks Hollow Subdivision, basically just west of Ace Hardware. And they will use the pathway to walk to Central Elementary. I believe the event will kick off at 7:30 a.m. So as they get to the elementary, it'll be a time for kids for school to start. Our food service department will be providing a breakfast for those participants. This walk to school event is part of the Pathways Initiative and being organized by Ms. Debbie Brindle. Information is available on our website, and or you can contact Debbie through the community ed office. Cybersecurity Summit. June 2nd, Chris Horsley, Ellen Kissel, and I will be attending a cybersecurity summit being hosted by the GISD. The summit is geared toward K-12 institutions and preparing technology and systems to prevent cyber hacks. Staff appreciation, teacher appreciation. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize all Linden community educators and staff members. Over the course of the past year, we have been given many challenges, and from those challenges, our staff have done nothing less than sacrifice for our students. Yes, the long hours, the different learning modalities, the communications, and the added requirements have all been recognized. As a superintendent of Linden Community Schools, I am very humbled to work beside each and every one of you and very honored to work with you. Thank you for everything that you've done for our Linden students. And finally, I'd like to recognize Mr. Chris Horsley. Congratulations to our technology director, Chris Horsley. Chris recently completed and earned his Chief Technology Officer certification through MSBO, Michigan School Business Officials. This award reflects a high degree of academic and professional preparation and excellence. So Chris, congratulations. And that's all I have, Mr. Baker.
Thanks, Russ. Appreciate it. We do have a special presentation tonight. Since we are still virtually, the GISD Board of Education has a message for us that Mr. Siselsky will bring up on the screen.
And again, I think annually the ISD sends a member of their Board of Education to speak to county schools on their behalf. This year they produced a video.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Judge John Conover, Secretary of the Genesee Intermediate School Districts Board.
And I'm Jan Buckby, and we're both proud to serve on the GISD board and to serve the Genesee County educational community at large.
Part of the GISD's mission is to partner with local school districts to share resources and to assist you in striving for excellence in educational opportunities for students and families.
In a normal year, we would love to visit you in person to talk about how we can work together to support your students in your community. But obviously, this last year has been anything but ordinary.
So, our talented GISD teams have put together a video highlighting just some of the many wonderful programs and services we have to offer you and your students.
We hope that you enjoy this presentation, and please don't hesitate to invite us to come alongside of your district so you can take advantage of our many programs and services. We're here for you.
Genesee Intermediate School District. At the center of all we do is our mission: leadership, service, innovation, partnering for success. GISD offers a wide range of programs and services that can benefit your school district. So partner with us. Let's join forces and work together for the success of students and families in Genesee County.
Hi, I'm Richard Hill and a member of the Genesee Intermediate School District Board of Education. Good leadership is key to the success of any organization or school district. At GISD, we take pride in our ability to bring together area superintendents, principals, counselors, and others, allowing us to produce a collection of ideas and resources. We facilitate the collaboration of leaders in education across Genesee County, including bringing together board members across the county through the Genesee County Association of School Board Members. This has proven to be especially important during our work to address the needs of students and districts amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We also provide coordinated school health services and mental health services. The Center for Countywide Programs works with local school districts to support behavior and mental health needs of students throughout Genesee County. Our staff provides direct services to students, professional development, and support to teachers of students in need, and support to families by connecting and assisting to secure mental health resources from community agencies.
When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, school administrators were forced to come up with a new, more distant approach to teach students. This resulted in a huge increase in remote learning. In order to support the schools in our county, GISD employees worked to develop and implement an online learning platform called GenNet Virtual.
Jen Buckby, here to share with you some of the things that our ISD is doing for us. GenNet Virtual provides schools with access to a robust learning management system and instructional content for grades K through 12. Our technology and media services team created an awesome platform that's both user-friendly and cost-effective. With school districts across Michigan in need of cost-effective virtual learning options, many have chosen to partner with us. Right now, GenNet Virtual supports more than 80 districts across the state. The Special Education Transportation Consortium is yet another tremendous asset for local districts. We transport students with special needs to and from our programs. The consortium generates approximately $1.5 million in savings for each participating school district each year.
The Special Education Transportation Consortium is just one of the many support services and educational programs GISD provides for students with special needs, their families, and school districts in Genesee County.
A significant amount of the programs we provide are focused on special education. The Elmer Adolph Learning Center, EKLC, is a center-based school for students identified as cognitively impaired and autism spectrum disorder. EKLC operates on a balanced calendar and provides special educational services such as occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, nursing, social worker, and psychological services. We also operate the Transition Center and programs like Early On and Child Farming. GISD's Mary D. Cross Instructional Center, MCIC, is a year-round, 200-day center-based program for students identified with severe cognitive and severe impairments, ages 5 through 26. Keeping in line with our commitment to growth and innovation, we are creating opportunities to encourage youth entrepreneurship. We are supporting a relatively new program where high school students around the county work with advisors to help them think outside the box, to explore and develop their ideas for a new product or business. At the end of the school year, students get to participate in the countywide pitch competition.
The Genesee Career Institute is another great resource available to districts throughout the GISD. If you haven't seen what used to be known as the Skill Center, you should stop by and take a look around. It's been completely renovated into a state-of-the-art facility. We currently offer more than 26 programs in high-demand career fields, along with several opportunities with hands-on experience in career technical education. We have a wonderful culinary program with our recently renovated state-of-the-art kitchen. Our junior ROTC program is one of the fastest growing programs available to students 9 through 12th grade. We're building a new field house for them to utilize for additional training. And the aviation program is one of our newest programs, which is also very popular. Students get a hand-on experience while acquiring the training needed to become a licensed pilot.
We are continuously thinking about ways to meet the needs of students and families in Genesee County. In December of 2020, we launched the Mobile Education Lab, or MEL, M-E-L. It's a portable resource site that we can take into various communities and meet families where they are. Districts can also request for MEL to be at a particular school or event. Let me tell you, as a judge, this is a game changer. Our Center for County-Wide Programs seeks grants and benefits the needs of students and staffs in our local districts. One of our latest grant initiatives will provide comprehensive training on assessing threats for district crisis teams. This will provide a research-based approach to intervening and managing student threats in schools.
The Lagan Outdoor Center provides outdoor education and recreation opportunities for students and educators in the Genesee and Lapeer Intermediate School Districts. Lagan's 268 acres of land provides teachers and students with a natural setting to learn and experience nature while engaging in several unique experiences. And we can't forget about our early colleges. Through our partnerships, Local high school students can attend Genesee Early College or Mott Middle College to earn college credit and get a jump start on their future. One of the newest additions is the Genesee County Career and Technical Early Middle College. This unique opportunity blends both CTE and the early middle college concept and allows students to remain members of their local districts while earning college credit.
Strong relationships and partnerships are the core of our beliefs. They are what we base our foundation of GISD services on and help us achieve success. It is through those relationships and partnerships that GISD is able to provide high quality, innovative, and educational programs that meet the unique needs of every district, their students, parents, and educators. We are here for you. Thank you for being our valued partner. We are truly better together and stronger than ever.
Thanks, Russ. I did attend the budget hearing, and I'll make some comments during board reports at the end of the meeting to review some items that were discussed and the status of the budget for the ISD from this year. We have no administrative updates this evening, so this is the first portion of the meeting for public comments on non-agenda items. Once again, public comments are directed to the board president, limited to 3 minutes in duration, and they'll be referred to the superintendent, who will respond at the next meeting or sooner directly to the individual if so warranted. Do we have public comment card?
We do. First one is Valerie Sylvester.
I'll decline at this time.
Okay. And then we will move to Robin Wymore.
Do I go up there?
Yes, please.
Do I keep this on? Hi, my name is Robin Wymore, and I have 3 children in this district. I come to you today on behalf of them. I come to humbly plead with this board to reduce mitigation measures in our schools. I beg of you to bring the choice back to the teachers, students, parents, and coaches and volunteers in this community. When implementing mitigation measures, this district lacks in 2 essential ways of protecting one another. Not only does the CDC call for masks, separation, and staying home if you're ill, but it also states to wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds and not to touch your face. Instead, the school pushes for hand sanitizer and kids to come home with filthy masks. No one is encouraging these kids to wash their hands or change their mask if they sneeze or cough in one. If the school can be this relaxed on such important pieces of this puzzle, then why can't they on others? This extreme mitigation measures are causing severe stress on teachers, parents, and most of all our children. My daughter Aubrey is an 8th grader. She is an outgoing, silly, compassionate, and loving young lady. Her smiling face alone exudes happiness. After returning to school, we began to notice her withdrawal from her friends and family. Her smile is non-existent, and she has lack of motivation, and she has lost her love for school. Extremely worried, we immediately took her to our pediatrician, as depression doesn't run in our family. His conversation with Aubrey will forever be remembered. He asked her how she was handling school and how she was doing. Aubrey remained quiet, masked, and unable to answer with tears forming in her eyes. He consoled her, informing her that every time he had asked a child how they were doing, they broke down into tears, whether they are in school or not. That he had more children crying in his office this year than he had his entire career, and those kids are ages 6 and up. He is also a grandfather. Extreme stress for mitigation was the diagnosis, and we pulled Aubrey from the district the very next day. We needed to undo what the mitigation measures had done. In our home, we raised our children up with the Lord, and that is what she needed most. Extreme stress causes emotional and behavioral symptoms in our children. These include but are not limited to headaches, anxiety, over and under eating, muscle tension, restlessness, angry outbursts, lack of focus and lack of motivation, fatigue, feeling overwhelmed and saddened, sleep deprivation, and social withdrawal. We need choices. These children are no longer given an opportunity to grow inside of these schools. Opportunity has turned into ultimatums, quarantining without a choice, test or don't play, mask up or get out. These mitigation measures deny a child their God-given natural instincts of life. With vaccinations given to teachers and offered to the public now at ages 16 and up, why haven't these measures been rescinded from the school? With 70% of parents wanting a normal school year last summer, I have no doubt that most of the district wants a normal school year now. I've listened to you all make plans on academics, hear about virtual academy, acquire therapy dogs, get flat screen TVs over the past few months. But what are you doing to guarantee a normal year for this fall, despite the health department guidelines? Are you coming up with ways to cater to all of the children that will be behind? I keep hearing about virtual academy, but I have no mention of the school adopting a choice-based curriculum, which all of the surrounding districts have. This is the perfect time to offer our kids choices in an upcoming academic year where most of them will fall behind. As you can see, a one-size-fits-all plan does not work for everyone. Can Linden start to hear the cries of this community? Our children ages now 2 and up are being held hostage in the state of Michigan, but this board has the ability to change that. I urge you to look to the future and think about the challenges that our children will face. Come up with like-minded solutions that include the will of everyone. We didn't elect the health department, we elected you. Russ, you mentioned in our meeting that we will not know the long-term side effects of this virus for years. That is a true statement. It is also true that we will not know the long-term effects of this emergency authorized vaccine or testing procedures for our children for years to come. But what we do see today is the horrible effects and stress this is causing in our children now. Is that less important to you? And what will Linden do to give the community our choices back? Will you, the members of this board, help us in this fight? Thank you. I'm sorry to cry.
Thank you.
Next we have, is it Cherie, Kelly, sorry, Sam?
Yes. Hello. I would like to totally agree with every single comment she says. I have a 2nd grader that's been in Linden since I've been her guardian since she's 3 years old. I will say, on top of all that, my granddaughter used to love coming to school, used to love riding the bus. Now she hates it. She doesn't like her bus driver because she's constantly screaming, "Get your masks up, get your masks up." These children are being agitated, irritated. They're coming home with attitudes because they can't even go out on recess without someone saying, "Put your mask up," when they're out playing and they need a breath of fresh air. I understand you have to listen to the MD, HHS, whatever, but she's right. We didn't elect them to guide our children here. Okay, my thing is, Elmont just put out a letter stating that their recess, if it's 100 or less, a mask is optional. Is that something that you can look into? The guidelines were changed apparently yesterday. They put a letter out today saying they're changing it for 100 or less for any outdoor activities, recess, PE classes, masks are optional. And I think these kids need a damn break. And I'm sorry for saying that, but we have to deal with them after they leave school. And we try and enthuse them, get them, excited to go to school. But you don't understand the pressures with working parents, working grandparents taking care of grandchildren, and then other people that have to take care of these children that have, I could tell you her behavior is totally changed this last year. She was a very sweet, very, kind child. Now she's tired. Every single day she comes home. She's got headaches. She says, "I'm hot. I can't breathe. I can't take my mask off." I don't know how much you can put on pressure on these young children, but can you imagine if you had to sit with this thing on, and If you're sitting in an office, you get the opportunity to take it off, correct? Okay, but those children in classes do not. So they don't get the breaks that we get. I have an office at work. If no one's in my office, I get a break off my mask because I will get headaches. And lack of oxygen is proven that it causes tiredness, irritability, focusing, and I can understand that you all want to listen to science, 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 but what about what's doing to the brains of these children trying to learn and be pressured on the bus, at school, on the recess? I mean, really, this is really, it's enough. And I mean, I'm speaking because if I had children here, I probably would not have them go to school by your guidelines. Because to me, if this is going to be the normal, it's not normal. And you're not making it normal for them. They're getting yelled at constantly. I mean, that right there in itself, you know, that just takes them down even a lower notch. When they're used to having fun and smiling and playing, and then they're getting yelled at constantly by the bus drivers, by the teachers, by the recess people, principals. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but I'm just sick of it, really. And I understand if y'all have children or whatever, but this is taking a big toll on people that are trying to work their jobs and trying to come home and deal with the after effects of the children coming home. You know, we're trying to be, you know, supportive of them, and we don't know everything that goes on in school, and yeah, social distancing, but I tell you, we wash hands, we're only in our small groups, we don't go out and do things like we used to. We do more walks, more bicycle rides, but that doesn't negate the fact that 5 days out of the week, these children are here. And trying to get her enthused on a Sunday night that you got to get to bed because you got school, it's like, it's very sad how she's agitated, and she's she's in second grade and she's 8. I mean, I feel for her, but there's not much more I can console her about wanting to be happy about coming to school when she's getting picked on. I mean, you got to give these kids a break. And I'm thinking outdoor recess, at least, please, let them go maskless. If they're cohorting in their class and it's under 100, let them run and scream and have a good time. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And it looks like we have one more, Tabitha Rainberg.
Hi, I have a kid in the middle school and I have a kid in the high school. I told my kid that's come today to ask about seeing if we can make some kind of compromise with the parents who are avid mask wearers and the parents whose children are begging for fresh air, a basic human right, water, air. My kids are being yelled at or watching classmates being yelled at in class if the mask falls beneath the nose as they're taking a test. That is not acceptable. There's so much they have to deal with right now, and they are children. Children, they're not adults. When I told my kids I was coming, they were embarrassed at first. But then I remember what my daughter did, who was 12 at the time. You guys, as the children, if you see kids vaping in the bathrooms, if you see someone get bullied, please let a staff member know. Well, my daughter walked in about 10 girls in the restroom. She let the staff member know, hey, they're all vaping in the bathroom. Wasn't hard to figure out my daughter was the one that narked on them. She then proceeded to get threats of being beat up. She was being made fun of for being a snitch. But the one thing that I'm so proud of my daughter is even though she's 12 years old, she did the right thing. She was brave, she was bold, and she did what was right because you were not supposed to be vaping and getting the other kids to do it. So I told her Mommy is going to come to the school and ask if we can do a compromise. I'm not asking you to get rid of the mask entirely. I'm not trying to be confrontational. What I'm asking for is when they're outside at recess, can they take the mask off for a break? Give them some fresh air, especially the students who are athletes. My daughter was on the basketball team. She was in a mask from 7:15 in the morning. She stayed after school to get onto the bus. She was in that mask until 8 p.m. 13 hours in a mask. If we could just give them some leeway, whether it's, you know what, you need a breath of fresh air, go outside for 5 minutes. I find it odd that my son's school ID has a suicide awareness on the back of his ID. My kids are not suicidal, but I have to talk to them daily about the friends that they have that don't have parents like my husband and I who are always home to talk to them. What are they saying on your Xboxes? What are they saying on your computer games? The things that these children are saying to one another are horrific. And it is because they feel like they are zombies in the classroom. I know for a fact you guys will not get shut down if you were to relax some of these restrictions. There's a 3-foot distance the CDC is talking about, there's 6 foot. The CDC said if we are outside at large events, we can take our mask off, especially if you're vaccinated. My son is in track. I went to the track meet the other day. There was hardly any spectators there because it was so cold. There should have been no reason why people were forced to wear a mask, students or adults, when we are outside. It just seems that there could be some type of compromise. There are parents that are going to be totally pro-mask, and I respect that. My sister is on near death's door. She could die any minute. She's almost on kidney transplant list. I had to take her to her doctor appointments. She knows that I'm around tons of children. My kids' friends all come over. My house is always open. But she takes that risk with me taking her to her appointments. At some point, we need to let the kids be the kids, and the adults have to stand up for the children. Because the school is about the children. It's not about the elderly going out to VGs. It's not about the elderly at Alpine. I respect everyone's feelings about it. My aunt died because of COVID. Now, she was also had other health issues. I understand. I buried both of my parents at 30 and 40 to different reasons. Death is scary, but what's really scary is the kids that are wanting a break. They want some fresh air, and we can't give them that basic right. There's more power that you guys and this board can do than the governor, the health department. I'm not asking you to go all crazy and make people upset, but give a choice. If someone wants to wear a mask all day at recess, they can wear a mask. They can wear 2 masks. Just please think about the children, and please be brave. Like my 12-year-old daughter, when you guys asked her to do what she had to do and get attacked by her classmates for doing the right thing. Can you please do what some of us parents are asking and help our kids breathe fresh air? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that is the last of the public comments on non-agenda items that we have at this time. There is a portion of the meeting at the end for a second segment of public comments. We have the consent agenda that consists of minutes of the regular meeting from April 21st, 2021. I need a motion and support to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion? Support. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. We have one action item this evening. It's the last day of school for the 2020-2021 school year. Russ?
Yes, thank you. At our last meeting, we had discussion on the last day of school for the 2020-21 school year. It was the administrative recommendation to approve the calendar change with students' last day of school, which will be a full day of school for 2020-2021 school year, to move it from June 14th, which was a Monday, to June 11th of 2021, which is a Friday.
Thanks, Russ. I need a motion and support to approve the calendar change with students' last day being a full day of school for the 2020-2021 school year, being June 11th, 2021. Do I have motion and support?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, this is a great idea. There's no point in putting kids out on the roads for half a day. It's just more risk that something bad could happen. We can get it all done in one day, meet all of our time commitments as far as hours and minutes and days. It's the only smart thing to do, not to mention it's not dragging you into another week, which would probably have very low participation. We try to pull that one off, so I'm all in favor on this one. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Any other comments from the board? All right, any comments from the public on this item? All right, seeing none, then we will vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our discussion item this evening is the curriculum review and adoptions for the upcoming year. Mr. Ray Young.
Good evening, and thank you, Board, for this. And tonight, it's time. It's hard to believe we're at that time of the year again, coming before you with some curricular adoptions that we'd like to share with you. And really, the intention is to just share some of the what, why, and how of some updates to our curriculum, and again, our total curricular investment. Our adoption process kind of is there for you. It's really the timeline, and you can see in red we're into the April-June section, which is our board approval. Our curricular review process, again, those are links for you to just take a look at as you need on our process that we go through. Tonight we're going to have several of our curricular leaders within our buildings share a little bit about the updates and some of the things happening here in the district. As a general overview, this year we typically run between 15 and 24 programs that could be up for adoption. Tonight we are going to see several of those. The why, again, it's important to have a continual process to review the instructional offerings here in the district. And really the how is really the material piece. A lot tonight is some updates to our curricular mapping, maybe some replacement materials and so forth. I'll also share a couple of new programs, particularly at our elementary as it relates to STEM, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Having said that, we'll start tonight at our high school with our LHS adoptions. And we'll first start with our department lead in the high school science department, Mr. Landrum.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get this going. Let's go to clips. First one, Science Society. Every 6 years, like you've heard, we have to come up and look at the curriculum, look at the mapping, and make sure it's up to speed with NGSS. And this is, Mr. Fonda did this, I believe, and everything's up to speed, no cost to the district. Also, ecology is another elective that we have as well. Science Society, usually we run back to back, one semester and another semester. It's just a 6-year update to this. At this time, Mr. Fonda says the map's updated in line, and again, no cost to the district. Zoology, again, six years. Mr. Cox is teaching this currently. He has indicated the need for about $435 of new equipment and supplies and specimens. Pretty popular course, usually run 1 to 2 a year, usually one semester, the other semester. And it's basic zoology. Here's what an animal is. Let's check out what's inside of it. A lot of dissections. Brand new course for this year, hopefully offered next year, and has been offered next year because the same the numbers are. It's astronomy. For many years, it's been offered through GenNet, and Mr. Dresky had an idea. He said, hey, let's see if we can get some students here in our building with our teachers so we can teach it our way. And Mr. Cox agreed. He has developed this course. You see the description there. I won't read it to you. However, $776 roughly to start the course off for some basic equipment, telescopes, binoculars, such like that. He seems excited to do it. Seems to be a man to do it. He's well aware of taking the students outside of the classroom, seeing how he's a track coach, cross-country coach. Hopefully have some student engagement and student interest in this class. Another course here, Ms. Messer, she has developed a inventions course, and the whole idea behind this, it says, is to find a problem, formulate a solution, develop a product, and share the results. Kind of lines up with the STEAM idea that has been very popular in the last few years. She has experience teaching this in Sports Creek, where she developed a very similar program. And now that she is one of us here at Linden, she is willing to start again. $186 for basic needs, whiteboards, markers. When I talked to her, and just a couple weeks ago, she said $186 would be fine, and we need some other things we get through the department budget. whiteboard markers for presentations. She feels to be the largest sum of recurring costs every year. And that, I believe, is my last line. There it is.
Thanks, Chris. Now with the English department, our department lead, Dan Schneider.
Good evening. I'm here to present the ACL curriculum review that was done this past year. Every year in the English department, we run a review of a different course, and we kind of do it in order. So we are kind of at the beginning of our cycle right now, because ACL is a 9th grade English course. And Dr. Bethany George, Mr. Brian Vandeventer, and Mrs. Becky Draper participated in this curriculum review. Those are our primary 9th grade English teachers. And we have 2 ACL classes. The first one here is our basic ACL course. And then we also have an ACL co-taught course, which is a class that runs on a similar curriculum, but on a differentiated scale. So, basically, they spent a lot of time reworking the map, the curriculum map, and the reason why we needed to do that was because we were looking to add some new high-interest, fresh materials in the form of novels primarily to this class to provide some high interest, some global perspective, those types of things. So I'm really pleased with the novels that they chose to add to the curriculum. And while I don't teach ACL, I have read all 3 of them, and they are outstanding books that are easily accessible to everyone, high interest for everyone, and highly appropriate for all of our students. So those 3 novels are Ghost by Jason Reynolds, Bronx Masquerade by Nikki Grimes, and my personal favorite, Refugee by Alan Gratz. And I do have information on those books, so if any of you are seeking additional information, please let me know. So anyway, those 3 novels added to the curriculum. You can see the cost there. That's for ACL regular. But our ACL co-taught also will take advantage of the use of all or most of those novels, depending on their pacing throughout the course of the year. So similar situation with ACL co-taught. The map was reviewed and revised, and the only additional resource that is requested for ACL co-taught is that we are looking for a subscription to a print source and a digital source that will allow students some access to current events and news articles that they can use in a lot of their research assignments. And so that subscription, the cost of that subscription is an additional $75, and that's only for the co-taught. However, some copies can sometimes be made for the additional ACL courses as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Moving on to our next course, really with the math department, we have 2 co-leads tonight, Mr. Schaus and Mrs. Plunkett, to share some of the math updates.
I don't have my glasses on, so hopefully I click the right one. Or maybe not. Let's see. Yep, no, that's not. Push the right button. There we go. I guess I could take a second while he's bringing that back up and just say, good evening, and I'm Mrs. Schaus. This year we reviewed 2 math courses. The first one is a course that I traditionally teach, personal finance. And the course was developed, I'm going to guess, about a dozen years ago by myself and a now retired teacher, with the idea that we wanted to put in some financial literacy for students, because, what greater life skill could we bring to them in a mathematical sense? So we did our traditional upping the map with some new supplemental activities and reviewing our pacing and that type of time spent with that work. We really had not brought the curriculum to the board in a formal sense, so we wanted to make sure that we were sharing the curriculum. We are not looking at adding in any new materials. We use free materials that are printed by NEFI, which is the National Endowment for Financial Education. We do, however, use a math textbook to supplement some of that material. It's a textbook that we have had previously on hand for quite a few years, Mathematics with Business Applications, and we're running short of those texts. So we're asking just for 10 used texts as a way to make sure that we're going to have enough to get through the next 6-year cycle. So 698.43 in total. Thank you.
He already did. I'm Molly Blunkett. I teach AP Calculus AB. The curriculum is constantly being updated, but this year is the year that we're bringing it to you. I'm asking for no money. I have textbooks that were purchased in 2008. They are disintegrating, but as the years have gone on, I have found new resources that calculus gurus across the country have been sharing. Some free and some for purchase that I've just been purchasing along the way, very low cost. So between those people who have generously started sharing their resources, between the things that I've come up with myself, and between the college board has come up with a lot in the last couple of years, I don't need any money from the district to complete this curriculum study.
Thank you. And our next department, Mr. Bodzik with Social Studies.
We have 2 that we reviewed this year, both core classes, with economics and U.S. history. U.S. history ends up being the expensive one. One of the issues with U.S. history is that when we originally purchased these books, we decided we were going to go classroom sets, so small amount of books, and purchase all the online resources. What we're finding with technology is, to be honest, we can find a lot of those resources. The kids are becoming more and more proficient with everything technology, Google Classroom, obviously now especially. And what we found was that the textbooks last a heck of a lot longer than the online subscription does. So it ends up being much easier for us. In our core classes, this is the last big one, and what this really is giving us enough books in order to cover everyone, because we don't have, under trimesters we can kind of do it. We can flip-flop A and B, double up in the middle. So that's the big purchase there. We do have to have some online subscriptions. Part of that is IEP compliance. Part of that is they do have different reading levels for the actual textbook itself, so you can change at what level of a reader the person is and adjust the actual content of the online one. Obviously, that's not possible with the an actual textbook. So we need some of those, and then the economic side of it, that's okay. And the economic side of it, basically all that was needed there was the teacher access to the online stuff, and then a few, in this case, a small amount of the online subscriptions for the same reasons I just mentioned. So that's it. One thing we are excited about, though, is we have 2 new classes that are hopefully being studied next year, and we haven't added a class in a really long time. So we have an American Presidents class that we're going to bring in, hopefully, and then Mr. Burhan's is bringing in a History Through Film class. So we're really excited about those developing, and they should be really low cost, too, which is good for everybody. So thank you very much.
And as far as the elementary level, I'll kind of wrap up with that. As we shared with you, I believe last month, really our computer science K-8 and then also our K-5 robotics. The 2 curricular components are really through code.org for the coding. It's really a K-12 option for us. And then the first robotic curriculum is one of the bigger costs.
with the startup one-time class packs for each of our teachers. And so, again, these would be offerings for all K-5 students at the robotics level, and then the computer science going up into the K-8 level. And so that was really kind of where we were with the STEM element, with more to come as I shared that last month. One of the other pieces is really to share with you our virtual course offerings as we still continue to work through the format in which that be delivered. We do know that the actual curricular elements are really going to be between the Odyssey-ware, the Michigan Virtual, and the Accelerate Education, and again, bringing before you those course catalogs for approval. And again, that would be for the virtual options for those families. So with that, what questions do you have for me or the team as it relates to any of the items shared this evening?
Thanks, Brett. Open it up to board for questions or comments. Mrs. Moore.
Yeah, I just have a couple comments. First off, thank you so much. This is always one of my favorite board meetings of the whole year because I love hearing about all the new things that are going on and the opportunities for the students, and I always appreciate teachers coming to support those classes and all of that awesome curriculum. And this year in particular, we all know how stressful this year has been, I just really appreciate all the awesome new ideas and the fact that this hasn't skipped a beat for our district. So thank you all for your work in that. I always feel guilty for some reason too, like when the teachers are saying, oh, it only costs $188.05. Like, okay, like let it cost $500 or $1,000. Like, this is like the stuff that we need to teach our kids. So from my perspective at least, it should never be about that. I know we have to be financially fiscal and all that, don't get me wrong, but I also, don't want somebody to say, well, it's not going to cost the district anything. Like, okay, so what if it does? Like, that's okay, in my mind anyway. Russ,
No, I think
Russ and others might disagree, but I think it's fine, we have to put money into our classes for our kids.
No, I think it's a good point, and you heard tonight too, we've developed really a 6-year cycle, so we've been taking all of the courses that we offer and kind of have put them into, with their leadership, been able to spread those out, and so that we're on a cycle for renewal that matches some of the online elements and when those expire and so forth. We do have a number of programs that are almost on a 3 to 6 year purchase plan. So we do have some other heavier commitments financially that we're trying to then tailor that with our existing curricular budget with what's free and unallocated and to what we're kind of already adhered to in that process.
Sure, and I appreciate your responsibility in that. I just, from our perspective, it's like I want to make sure that we're able to do what we need to help these classes be successful with the materials that they need. I think that was really other, I know somebody commented on like disintegrating books, like they're disintegrating books, can we get a few new ones? I mean, I don't know. I know you're dealing with a certain budget and all that, and if we gave a little bit, everybody's going to want some, but I just hate to, have us trying to do something with not the right resources. So that's all my comments.
Jared?
Yeah, I'll just say that kind of along the same lines of what Ms. Luck spoke about, what I heard from every teacher was that there is a cognizance about the financial impact of things, and that was certainly top of mind for what they were doing when they were making their plan. So I appreciate that, and like you said, the biggest number I saw up there was the $40,000 for the STEM, and that's a whole new program, and everything else was kind of under 10 grand, and in many cases a few $100s, and it was good to hear that there is a lot of cost consciousness out there. So I think that was great, and I'm excited about some of the new programs, especially the astronomy one piqued my interest. That's neat that we're going to be able to take that on and away from the Gen Net. So yeah, thanks for everything that you guys brought to the table. Appreciate it.
Dave Haney, did you have any?
Yeah, the curriculum review versus the actual delivery. Obviously, some of our concern at this point is kids that are at risk that have fallen behind a little bit. Should we classify those as two separate issues? I mean, obviously, we're deciding what here to teach, but in previous meetings, you brought up, have we gotten any further along the process with delivery, if you will, and some additional resources that we might incorporate next year?
Yeah, as far as the delivery piece, or even we shared with you guys some of the recovery of learning plan that we have in place, and those things will be moving forward. But again, we also take advantage of our state and federal programs with our at-risk funds and so forth to still offer interventions within. And again, the teachers do a tremendous job in the classroom to tailor and to support the students depending upon how they're progressing. And so those pieces are inherent. This is more of the what. I think the instructional element is really, related to how we're going to help students in the learning process.
Go ahead.
I think maybe you were also referring to remediation from stuff that's been lost.
Okay.
Is that kind of where you were going with that?
I don't have a clue. I don't know.
We've been given some time at the end of this school year through CIA camp to take a good hard look at some of those areas where there are holes from the past year and a half, where we're going to look at our delivery of that curriculum next year and how to approach and try to fill those gaps.
And do we use standardized testing as a benchmark for that? Or is that part of the process?
In some cases.
Where we're seeing maybe holes that need to be filled?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Both in the benchmark assessments with NWEA, but then even to our courses, our common assessments at the semester end or even at the end of each unit. I think what Mr. Snyder was also mentioning, with our camp, looking at the standards, the curricular maps that were just reviewed on one hand, but then looking at some other documents that are looking at the priority standards. Basically, some work that's been done at various ISDs, and we can then take some of the priority standards that we really want to make sure enough time is spent on. So as we take a look at this priority standard list, let's match it up to then how and when we deliver those standards, so that when we do, i.e. in September or October, whenever it is, enough attention is paid to those priority elements versus spending enough time on all of them. We want to really make sure we capture and make sure that students are really grasping that.
One last question regarding robotics. It said that there might be a grant available for that?
Correct, and that is with the grant element, with the cost within that.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Maker. Thank you, Mr. Maker. Start by basically kind of echoing Ms. Luck and Mr. Montague's comments about the value of this meeting. To me, this is one of the most important meetings of the year. I greatly appreciate the staff coming here tonight and the ones that also contribute to the evaluation to determine what we need to move forward effectively in these areas that are being studied. I greatly appreciate the appearance of the frugality of getting stuff to the nearest penny and stuff like that, and saying this is good enough, this is a decision that they're making, and if they want to live with a used book versus a new book, I'm great with that. I'm going to trust my staff members or our staff members to make that decision. So again, thank you very much, staff, for contributing to this meeting tonight. It is a very important meeting. I know when I first joined the board, we had some very lean years in the curriculum area. We were constantly trying to cut the curriculum budget to keep the rest of the budget afloat, it seemed like. And now that we finally accumulated a little bit of money, that we don't forget about this. And to the point of every year we can't spend necessarily the exact same amount. That's what I'm concerned about. We're spending what we need here, but as Mr. Young was mentioning, there's years where you're going to have a heavier hit. So I just hope that as we develop budgets, so we keep that in mind, that we can't just allocate $350,000 a year for curriculum materials. It's got to be what we need that year. It might be a little less that year, it might be a little more the next year. So I hope that the budget, and I have a lot of faith in Mrs. Dickey and Mr. Young, they'll put together a budget that will reflect those kind of issues. So again, I like the idea of the elementary STEM project there with the coding being brought in and utilize free resources to get that going. I believe that the research that I've seen on coding, if you get kids involved earlier, they're likely to maybe pursue a career in science later on down the road. Especially the girls, I guess, they have a little bit of an issue because of the way they're developing mentally and stuff through the junior high years, where they would be a time where typically they might get introduced to that, and maybe they really feel uncomfortable, from what I understand. So if we get them comfortable with coding and those kind of things before that point, I think they'll be able to work their way through it, and we'll see a lot more women joining the science force down the road. So that's good for everybody. But again, thanks again for the meeting. Really appreciate the information and the frugality. Thank you.
Mrs. Chan, any comments?
I just want to say thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the teachers presenting this, explaining to us what we need and or what you need, and taking into consideration the budget.
And with that too, tonight, these are the leaders that have done really the heavy lifting with their departments, and again, they're the ones really, doing the lion's share of this and some of the work that's, before and after school and when we can get it done. And so again, we really appreciate, them and being able to share that with you. And then work within the confines of our structure and some of the other pieces.
Yeah, I'm always impressed, and obviously this is it's a continuous flowing process that is being reviewed, and you're in the cycle to review the next year and carry forward like that. I think it's an awesome opportunity for our staff to help kind of lay the groundwork of what's going to fall in their laps in the coming years to instruct our students. And having that, being given the initiative to lay that out and mold what the programs are and adjusting, this isn't applicable anymore, it's obsolete or something new comes in line. I think it's great, and I really appreciate the professionalism and the effort that's put into it by our staff. I think it's just awesome to see, and I always love to see I think there's an excitement. You tone it down. Probably Dan shows it the most, the excitement of what they're doing and how this is going to contribute. But that's great. I concur on the coding piece of it with Mr. Murphy. My son's writes programming. That's his part of his profession, and I think it's great. I kind of equate it to music. The sooner you get kids reading and understanding music from notes and things like that, the better their brain is going to develop and accept it. It's just like a language. It is a language of its own, and I think getting our youngest learners embedded in that process and kind of seeing another way for all of that to go together is going to really pay benefits. And as our program develops going forward for the high school, our long-term goals for the high school STEM Academy, if that comes to fruition, this is going to pay huge dividends for our community in the next, 8, 9, 10, 12 years. So thanks to everybody for the effort in presenting this tonight. Do we have any questions or comments from our public on the curriculum that was presented? All right, thanks, Brett. This will be on the consent agenda next meeting. All right, thanks, Russ. All right, that is our only discussion item this evening, so this is the second portion of the meeting for public comments on non-agenda items. Is there any public comments? Did you complete a card?
No, where did I get it?
Well, if you actually, you can give one afterward.
Okay.
Just give us your name and address.
Tanya Smith, and it's 13056 White Oaks Drive, Gaines, Michigan.
Great.
So hopefully I won't cry. I hate talking in front of people. I get very nervous. I had no intention of talking. I apologize. Due to the fact that I have children with a lot going on. Many of you teachers know my kids. You know me. I do everything I can to help Lyndon, to help the teachers. I work in the medical field. I have children involved in sports. I have a daughter that's an avid athlete. She doesn't want to play school ball. She doesn't want to do anything anymore except hold herself up in the house. She's a gymnast. My son has learning difficulties. And the last year, There's been so many pressures. And I'm telling you, these kids, I go through my kids' social media. I'm their mom, I'm crazy about it. You do not know these kids that are sitting at home vaping themselves, bongs, drinking. In middle school, I'm not talking high schoolers, we know they're all there. And that's avid as well. I wrote a letter and I'm just gonna read that, but I just want you to know I support you teachers, you know that. But we are just at a point that these kids, and I research, you know, I have a husband that's a police officer, so obviously my kids have stress about that too. I'm in the medical field, I live in a mask all day. We get 10 minutes every hour to run and pull this thing off because it's, and mine are a little tighter, but it's truly suffocating. But I do respect everything you guys are doing. So I'm just going to read this to the board and community of Linden. For starters, I understand the coronavirus is real. I understand the importance of an immune system. The things that I'm about to say do not mean that I don't care about people or believe that people can't get sick. I know this. I live it. I see it daily. What it does mean that I care about the mental and physical health of all people, not a select population, not just the elderly, not the people that just have illnesses. And if you know my history, my son has been sick his entire life. His entire life. Shayna knows, she's seen it, heard it from the point where he was born. The treatment of this virus has been focused on for a year. And for the record, I do agree that we needed many of the restrictions in the beginning. What has not been given any attention is the deaths and illnesses that have resulted due to the treatment and restrictions imposed due to this virus. Take some time, research it. Look at all the studies on these kids and what they're going through. This is our future, and I'm telling you, I see kids, my kids have friends. I get on their media, I hear what they're saying. I hear what they're focusing on. It's scary. Our children have suffered in so many ways as a result of the response and restrictions that have been implemented. I understand that certain rules are being governed by the state, but I also believe as a community and school district, we need to advocate for our children, even if it is not the popular thing to do. And if you know me, I'm a rule follower, so this is really out of my box, okay? I love Linden schools. I support our teachers and administrators. But I have been disappointed a little in the response from the board as far as giving these kids and how long it took them to get back into the school and how much resistance was met. A couple I see trying to push that, and I appreciate that. But I think we need to see the big picture and first and foremost have the children's best interests at heart. I have been disappointed. I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. I know it's not an easy job, but these children are worth the effort. It seems that our schools have been one of the last to open and have some of the strictest guidelines. I understand that it's difficult to work in these conditions, and it's difficult for all of us. But unfortunately, everyone has a job to do. Myself, my husband, and my son have worked almost the entire last year. So I understand the trials, the tribulations, the fears that come with this. We all have jobs that work in close contact with people. Even my son, that is probably one of the greatest risks. Both my children have asthma. These masks make it so it's very challenging this year to control it. I keep them home from school because they're coughing because of their asthma, so they don't get to go to school. Last week, everyone kept saying, your kids must have COVID, your kids must have COVID. I'm like, okay, I'll go get them tested. They don't have COVID. This is what they look like in the spring. Their nose runs, they sneeze, they cough. They never have a fever, but it's more days out of school, more days being isolated. I work, these kids don't have people at home. They both have grandparents that are very involved, but they also are very at risk of the virus. The effect on the mental health of these children have been enormous. Thoughts of suicide, suicide attempts, and unfortunately children that have died from suicide is something I hear daily, both at my job and from my kids, what people are saying. My daughter came home today, Mom, my friends that I know that does drugs because she tries to befriend everyone. I'm worried. She didn't come to school today. She was very sad last night. She's not responding to me. What do I do? This is what they're worried because these kids are struggling. First, they were isolated from their friends. Then, when they finally return, they cannot talk or hang out to only their kids in their cohort. Many of these children go the entire day without speaking to a friend. They are continually wondering what rule they are breaking. If close contact is defined being within 6 feet for 15 minutes more, then give them 10 minutes of recess to be able to connect with others, talk to their friends, brighten their day. Let them talk about if someone's making fun of them or the friends that they can share their anxieties or worries with. My daughter, the cohort she in, doesn't have any of her real friends. It has a lot of friends that have a lot of struggles or people she's befriended. It's the only time of day she just wants to go out at recess and talk to a friend. She's not allowed the entire day. We were all kids at one time. Social is so important for these kids. At some point, we gotta figure out, like I have patients that exercise, they are at crazy health risk, okay? And whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise, their health and them being able to breathe and not have their oxygen go down, which does happen in these masks the entire day, I will tell them, we have distanced these equipment. If you need to, pull down your mask. Pull it back up when you walk around. But I see what it's doing to mentally at an elderly standpoint. They don't see people, so they know how to handle things better. These kids do not. They're trying, they're adapting. I think they're doing a great job with what they can, but how much are we gonna do? It is time to focus on how to help minimize the symptoms and illnesses that are affecting our children as a result of COVID that could affect them for the rest of their lives. My question is, how can we fight so hard to prevent the coronavirus and we can't or are made feel guilty for fighting for our children's health? It is time to advocate for these children. The school board is responsible for doing what is the right thing for the children that attend Linden Community Schools. Doing what is right might mean questioning regulations and thinking outside the box. I believe it is time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, do you have a public comment?
Yes, please.
Your name and address, please.
Valerie Sylvester, 16159 River Ridge Trail, Linden.
Thank you.
Okay. So I want to thank the Linden staff for the presentation. It's nice to go behind the scenes and see what goes into that. I've never had the opportunity to see that before, and it's very interesting. Thank you again. I do want to echo the sentiments of everyone who spoke before me. Thank you for having the courage to speak for your children who've been muzzled, both literally, figuratively. It's rough, and I don't think anyone's asking for the moon and the stars here. Even Wymore says we don't need to wear masks outside. I think that's a perfectly reasonable expectation that they get a break at recess and perhaps some other opportunities during the day. I want to speak a little bit to the required testing for high school athletes. And I'm not sure how much leeway we have with this, if this is a mandate from the Michigan Department of Health. It's my understanding, unless there's a court order for a public health order, that school districts, they're not required to follow health department recommendations. We don't test doctors, nurses, teachers, airline passengers, cashiers, food workers, kids in daycare, dentists, people that go to the gym, general student population. We're targeting student athletes. And it just kind of baffles me. 99.5% of kids that are forced into quarantine, both students and athletes, they have no symptoms. They never become sick. I think we need to take a good hard look at this at some point, and even if it's something you cannot change, it's something I would hope that the board and our leaders would be speaking out against and speaking up in support of our kids. Thank you.
Okay. That concludes public comments this evening. We'll move on to board reports and announcements. Once again, a chance for the board to address the rest of the board and the public on any relevant activities or events that they've been involved in. We'll start with Mr. Montague.
Okay, thanks. I don't really have anything to report, but I would like to just comment on some of the public comments that were made. I thank you to all the women that came and spoke. I hear you. And the one thing that came to mind for me was...
Jared.
Yes.
We don't respond to public comments from the board table. Just, you're new, so just to let you know.
Okay. And I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Dave Hayne.
Sure. I've been enjoying the spring sports season. Particular note is that girls soccer team has not had a goal against, so special notice to them. I don't have a tremendous amount more to report. Thank you to everybody who made comments. Mr. Losi, retiring, I want to congratulate him on a job well done. My time with him was very short. We certainly had some different opinions. But anybody who's willing to put it on the line for public service, especially for these kids, regardless of how we may agree or disagree, deserves note. So I'm not even sure how long Steve served on the board, but I wanted to thank him for his service publicly. So thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Ms. Maker. So much to talk about here. We'll start with why I voted against the agenda tonight. Because once again, second work session in a row, we've taken the return to learn plan off the table. And I thought we were under the understanding that we were going to keep the high level of focus on that. I know we only have to vote on it once every 30 days, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be talking about it. But
I'm sorry, this isn't the purpose of board reports and announcements. If you have that
no, I think
issue
it
to bring
is.
up,
Exactly.
Mr. Murphy,
yeah.
This is not the topic for board reports and announcements.
Why don't you outline which ones I can talk about that?
Board reports and announcements.
This is my announcement.
It is not an announcement.
Why I voted no.
Mr. Murphy, you can bring that up with Mr. Selsky and the board president.
I brought it up 2 weeks or 4
Mr.
weeks
Murphy.
ago, and nothing happened.
Mr. Murphy, the
Okay.
agenda is set by the board president and the board and the superintendent at the consensus of the board, not the consensus of one board member. Your desire is so noted, but the consensus of the board is not to include that in the board meeting, except for in the cycle that is required. Thank you.
Okay, so I could have an endless disagreement with you whether or not this falls under board report, but I think I made my point effectively, so I'll drop it. But it is disappointing that we hear all these comments tonight that are so grounded and so functional, and we can't respond to them. We can't even make a sort of accommodation to see what all these things are. This is just ridiculous.
Mr. Murphy, Mr. Murphy, you have sat in this position.
Yeah.
I have been a board member under you, and I learned from your lead to.
No, I never muzzled anybody. I can tell you that right now, and that's why we do need a new board president. So that's a painfully obvious.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
All right.
Mrs. Shana.
Really? That's all?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No, go back. If you have other items, please.
No, I think I'll just pass on that item because it's a good news story, and we don't need to talk about good news around here. So I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Ms. Shank.
I was really happy to get the invite to the pathway walk to school, and I'm super bummed that I will not be able to, participate in it due to work. But driving here today from work and seeing so many people, kids, adults on bikes, people walking with their dogs. I mean, it was just, you can tell that approving or voting yes for the trailways was like the best decision ever for Linden. It just, it made me happy driving here and seeing so much use out of it. And I hear from people, friends saying, oh my gosh, we go up there every night and we walk from here to here. And you know, it's nice to see that and hear people and see people out. Also, again, I want to thank our teachers, our staff, and our kiddos for continuing to do the best that they can and go above and beyond. That's it.
Thanks, Michelle. Mrs. Love?
Yeah, I guess we've already made it pretty clear that we cannot respond to public, and that is one of the hardest parts of our jobs. We always hear the public, whether we agree or disagree with the comment survey, we do always hear you, and we appreciate you speaking your voices. I am planning to walk the pathway walk, which I'm excited about. It's convenient, it's like exciting, and it's also right outside my subdivision, and I have a kid in 4th grade, so it works out in all ways. So I will be participating in that. I thought it was a great idea. I don't know who threw the initiative together, but what a fun thing to do. Hopefully it'll be nice out that morning. And then I'm also really excited that the academic awards are going to be presented in person, so thank you to the high school staff for putting that together and making that work. I'm really glad to see some of the things resume to a little bit of normal, even though we still have to, be under certain restrictions, but I'm glad that was able to work out. And even though we had to postpone it a couple weeks, so we make it work at the next board meeting. So thank you all for that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to touch on my attendance at the GISD annual budget approval a week ago. For the board members, the blanket that is at your position here at the table was a gift from the GISD, just a token of appreciation for your services to public schooling, and given the extreme circumstances of the last year, just a small gesture from the GISD to all the district's board members that they wanted to extend out. As always, it's interesting to see where the money's going and the support that the GISD provides across the county. In addition to the budget profile that I handed out to all the board members, there are 2 other documents. One is kind of a synopsis of all the different services they provide, and then a profile specifically of the services that GISD provides to the Linden Community Schools. It really is pretty widespread, and I think there are probably some things that we take advantage of. There are probably some things that, because of our relationship with Lake Fenton and Fenton Schools and the 3 districts consortium, that we maybe aren't as heavily involved as a district within Genesee County. But it is good to know that they're there, and it's always a resource that we may call upon if so required. There were a couple things they did touch on. One of them, I think they mentioned in the video, was the comprehensive threat assessment. Dr. Dewey Cornell's program that they had some presentations on within the county, and I think it's a great opportunity to have the resources to assess threats. Working in the security field myself for the last 25 years, I know that when it comes to violence, it isn't responding to the violence, it's identifying the potential and addressing that before it gets to a level where there's any potential for bodily harm. And I think that's the best resource for our staff and our students, to have adequate threat assessment programs in place. They also spoke of a new career planning software for K-8 level, which I thought was a very good thing to hear. I spoke to the first sergeant with the junior ROTC program. That is a more recent program, and for those who know, as a retired military officer, I know the value of that in providing leadership and personal development of our young people. It's a great program. They've done very well. In fact, they were just at a statewide competition the week prior and had actually performed at the top of all of the programs across the board. So they took first place in that JROTC statewide competition. The aviation program is a big element that's really taken flight, not to use a pun there. And lastly, because I happen to see in the Tri-County Times a little piece about the shortage of firefighters, I think the Linden Fire Chief specifically mentioning it, they have stood up a fire academy at GISD through the Gen Z Career Institute, which students will be able to participate in, complete their firefighter 1 and firefighter 2. So when they complete that program, they would actually qualify for a career. And then they're encouraging them to continue on with an EMT program through mock college or something like that, where they would be much more employable. But I think it's great that the Career Institute here in Johnson County is providing hands-on training and an opportunity for young people to pursue a career that right out of the blocks, it's very much needed skill set. There's not enough of them, and to have that resource available to us as a community is awesome, and I'm glad that's being followed. Lastly, just one comment. It is unfortunate for my board members that responses to public comments are not made from the board table, but that is our process to ensure that we speak with unity and with an informed voice. And that's why when we take public comments, we ask you to direct them to the board president. Mrs. Keller notes the comments, and then they're referred to Mr. Siselsky, and he responds back at the next board meeting in his board report from the superintendent, as well as providing direct contact to the individuals as so warranted. So I appreciate your understanding of that and your cooperation, and it's just the process. If we were to respond individually to you, you would get 7 different responses, and that's not fair to you, because we are all individuals, we all have our opinions, we all have our biases or whatever you want to say, but when we speak as a voice of the board in a singular approach, and that's the only way we can effectively conduct the business of this board in the best interest of Linden Community Schools. So I do appreciate all of you for being here tonight and sharing your concerns. I joined the board, I've been on the board because I believe that the most effect you can have is at the grassroots level, working with your community members, where I can look at you eye to eye, I know you by name, I can see you at VG's or Alpine or wherever, and I can feel comfortable approaching you and talking to you, and you should be able to do the same thing. That being said, we do have to draw a line where the board individual and the board as a whole can address matters. So thank you for being here, and I appreciate all the comments, and Mr. Siselsky has those for response and action. So that concludes our comments this evening.
Mr. Maker, may I please have a quick go back?
Yes, Mr. Murphy, please.
The ISD presentation at the beginning of the meeting, I thought was outstanding. I think it shows the value of that organization. And what can happen when an organization in a county like this is not political, and it supports all the people equally and well. And then we have our Genesee County Health Department, which unfortunately is political, and does not treat us with the same level of respect and functionality as the ISD. So I'm thankful for the ISD, but I'm equally disappointed in the fact of our health department. One last thing is the Republicans are pushing a graduation relief bill through the House and Senate right now, and it's eventually going to end up on the governor's desk. So we might want to encourage her to sign a one-day stay or one event stay in the social, or as a limitation of how many people can be in an event. I think she might sign it if she hears from enough people. So I would encourage everybody here to encourage the governor to give us these kids this one day in a very important high school career, or school career, public school career. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I need a motion to appoint Russ Zaselski to the Rule on Procedural Evidentiary Matters pertaining to meetings consideration of student discipline unless overturned by a majority of the board. But the board retains exclusive authority to evaluate and judge the facts or make other findings as required by these proceedings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Russ Zaselski to rule on procedural and evidentiary matters on behalf of the board. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. At this time, I need a motion to adjourn to closed session per Section 8B, Student Discipline of the Open Meetings Act. Do I have a motion to support?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to closed session. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Thanks, guys.